Hello! Hi everybody, welcome back to the stream. Alright. Where were we? Close that down. Cool. So there actually is a boat that comes through that's able to make its way up this way. And the way that the boat has been able to navigate through this is, again, being a river boat coming up. I don't understand the science behind this stuff, but I do know that in real life, there are riverboats that go the opposite direction. Part of it has to do with the way that the hull is designed, so it's not as easily carried away by the currents. Part of it is to do with rowers. Sometimes they've even used like oxen that have walked on either side of the river and kind of like dragged it along and whatnot. There's all different ways that happens. What I can tell you is this one, it has proper rowers that are in there. So there are literally about a dozen people on the boat that are all designated as rowers. And they row 10 at a time with 2 taking a break, rotating through. And so when they pull up to the dock, you can see that the rowers are all very happy, rubbing off their shoulders, whatever it is, to take a proper moment to rest as the boat stops for a couple of hours inside the area. It's funny too, because when you hear about the boat pulling in, somebody even tells you it's your lucky day. Fortunes must have smiled upon you. They say that the twins are twinkling your way. Is what they say in reference to Fortune smiling. So the twins are twinkling your way as that's there because that wasn't expected to stop. As a matter of fact, the reason why it stopped was because when they had left the dock where they were before, there was a small incident that had happened where part of the boat actually ended up getting hurt. So they had to they literally had to find a dock where they can go and pull in and then pull it partially on shore to go and make sure the rudder or whatever it is functioning fine, blah blah blah, whatever. So they're fixing the boat and it's going to be here for just a few hours before it starts heading out, and from there they're anticipated to have to try to make up for lost time, which again for you is great. Making up for lost time means lots of but that also means that they're pretty upset because they're losing time as money, and then there's a repair that they have to take care of. So when somebody comes up being like, "Can I get passage on your boat?" You can almost immediately tell, that twinkle in their eye, that they're looking to take advantage of the scenario to charge you to get there. And so when you go up and you negotiation, he'll nod and he'll let you know. He's like, "Well, there's a couple options we can do with this one. I'm willing to let you, ride nice and easy, or, full silver. You know what I mean?" And then he's kind of gives you a long look, and he says, "Or, if you want, you can work the lanterns throughout the nights and keep the light shining. And that'll cost you 7 copper instead." Both those prices are steep. But you also know you have Paradel coin, and he must know that. See, Paradel coin's kind of unique. Paradel is a place known for much symbolism. One of the things that Paradel does is that their coins are all designed in almost semi-triangular-like shape. A little flat on one end, whatever, it's fine. Semi-triangular-like shape. And these coins, when they're minted, they're actually minted loosely connected to one another. So an actual, a Paradel silver is actually 8, it's actually 9 Paradel copper pieces that are all linked together. And those 9 copper pieces together count as 10 copper, which is the equivalent of 1 silver. However, as soon as you break off one of those copper pieces, they no longer have all 9 combined. And so therefore it's no longer, you could have 9 connected and it counts as 10, but if you broke those up, they would count as 9. And it has a lot to do with the symbolism of Paradel and how you're stronger together, and the mindfulness when it comes to spending your money, and by holding it together you can actually have more value to it, and blah 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 blah, whatever. That aside, this person almost immediately pegged you as being Del, and here they are throwing prices at you where you're like, both of these are exorbitant, and I don't have 7 copper to spend, so I either have to break a coin, or I have to pay the full thing at once, which is ridiculous. You can also try to talk them down.
Yeah. definitely going to at least try to talk him down, but I'm trying to think if I have an angle here. Playing a lute on a riverboat's probably not going to sell. Let me see. Nah, oh crap. I have to think. Nope. Nothing fancy. I can't do. I have nothing fancy to do. So, yeah, he would just tell him. He'd say, "Yeah, I mean, those both seem fairly reasonable, though. I'm not sure I can really swing that right now. I was just robbed recently on my way to Forven. I can't really afford that price. I'm sorry. Good luck on your journey."
So you're more or less going to try to, what is it, like a hard sell, like walk. You're gonna walk as a sell.
Yes.
Cool. Go ahead and roll me your.
And I could afford to because there is another option. I could get up early.
Yep, of course. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and roll me your diplomacy?
Okay.
Oh, sorry that I heard something. So, what was I saying? So, he's not friendly. He's indifferent, and he doesn't have a negative charisma. So, certainly not an 8 or lower. And so,
Right.
Unfortunately, there is that moment where you turn to walk, and he looks after you, and you can see there's that moment where he's thinking. You even like as you like steal a glance, as you're properly like moving out of the way where he is. He even says that moment where like, his jaw moves slightly, like he might say something. But instead he chooses to also hold firm and call your bluff. Except you weren't bluffing, were you?
Nope.
Okay. And so you properly walk away, and he leaves the money behind. Okay. Awesome. I mean, no. It might be a crime. You are correct. 100% you might be correct that it might be a crime or whatever. But who has mending? I mean, for instance, Keegan, how many spells does your character know?
4?
You know 4 spells?
4.
Okay. Is mending one of them?
Nope.
And how many times can you cast cantrips a day?
3.
Okay. So you can cast 1 3 times or some combination down to 1 each, leaving 1 behind. So, like, you could, I mean, that's a way to make money. Right, like that.
Dude, I thought about taking mending.
It's almost like money laundering, like collecting copper pieces and mending them together and being like, I literally am making money by doing this. I bet the government does it.
Straight to prison.
Yeah, well, the government does that, right? Like,
100%. But it's under their watch, so now it's legal. But
yeah. The government being the tax collector that wants to make sure that he got to keep a little on the side. Anyways, moving on. So you, where were we? You, sir, waited out. Next morning, so you have it, and the butcher lady lets you stay the night on the floor again. This time she's much more chatty and open with you. You guys aren't drunk or whatever like the night beforehand. So you guys open up, and you're actually able to get her name, and we will actually allow Ellie. Go ahead and name the butcher lady. You can even have it be Ellie if you want. But back to you, Keegan. So you are we just need a first name. We don't need a last name. Not everybody has last name. Martha. There you go. So Martha the butcher of this thorp. She'll like in the morning. You wake up because like she'll come down and she'll give you like a proper shake of the shoulder to wake you up, and she'll be like, "Hey, now's when you're gonna want to get going. I gotta go grab my scraps from the shop so they can use them as bait." And
thank you.
She'll nod and say, if you can get a fire working nice and quick, you can make yourself a tea before you go. I promise you'll want it. And then she gestures to like a little like box she has where leaves are, and she'll leave the room.
Yeah, I will try to make myself some tea real quick and then head out.
You have any means of making a fire fast?
No.
By the time she comes back,
because I don't think prestidigitation does that.
Well, the good news is, by the time she comes back, the water that you put on wasn't hot, but it was warm. So you go to make tea with some warm water, But the good news is you can make it hot as you're walking down. Well, no, she'll be walking with you as you're walking to the docks. So you can get tea out of steeping leaves in warm water.
Yay. Yeah, I don't cast it when she's there.
Yeah, so it's not even going to be the right flavor profile. Anyways, moving on. You get down there and you're going to join onto the boat. She brings the scraps. They're going to use them as, again, whatever. And you hop on and you're able to start moving. And Keegan, they work you. They work you so... No, that's not true, actually. They remember everything that you just did yesterday and whatnot, or the day before and whatnot. And all they do is they work you for stories. They talk you so hard. These boys, the way that these lakeside fisher folk talk, you would think that they believe they're on the ocean. They're just swapping like the smallest of stories among the fewest of people back and forth until there's krakens that live at the bottom of the lake. You know what I mean? Things like that. You know?
Yeah, he would definitely feed into it. So someone's just like, yeah, we saw it. There was a shark in those waters. He's like, oh, I hear they get to this big out there. So that just like to keep piling on the embellishments.
One of the older ones, like, you'd think that there wouldn't be a shark here, huh? Because of fresh water. I want you to taste that water. See that? It's saltier. This water, it flows down to the ocean, but I swear to you, somewhere beneath this current, that ocean comes flowing back. This water here is way saltier than it should be. Why do you think we go fishing for? And he mentioned some type of fish that you absolutely know fucking nothing about. He's like, they don't live in proper fresh water, do they? No way. They only live in saltier water. Water like you see over in lakes and ponds close to the sea. That's right.
He listens and doesn't write any of this down.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. This is one of those experiences where it's like we all kind of know everybody's bullshitting, but it's fun. So you just go in.
It's funny too, because like in the meta, I actually have a note in my map when I hover over the river. Note says,
"Is there a fucking shark in here?"
The river, what is it? So it's because its name translates to the river of the sea. The river of the sea is exactly that, a river that flows to the sea. While the river flows down from the mountains of Vala, it's known for salt deposits on its riverbed. So it actually is a saltier river. But anyways, so your character writes none of this down like it's not important. It's like, no, it's actual lore. But anyway, so and this is why he doesn't have a point in knowledge local. No,
well, this is the thing he'll probably remember, but it's like it's not going to go in his notes.
Yeah, yeah. You don't waste parchment or papyrus on this.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, moving on.
That's for his thesis.
There's a moment where like they do actually see other fishermen, but it's around the time like we got to start heading back. We got to head back, and you have to like work with them and convince them. At the end of the day, Keegan, you have two options here. You can either roll me a diplomacy check to convince them to let you switch, or you can hand over another copper piece to convince them to head back late and let you over.
Copper piece sounds like money, so we're gonna roll that check. I don't. You're supposed to go over to the fucking other number die. You're not supposed to lay. It's cocked. It's cocked. I get to re-roll that, right?
You want to hear the truth? They're friendly and have a negative charisma, so that works.
Oh, sick.
DC is 9 when they're friendly, baby. So you I
wasn't sure if they were friendly yet. So
yeah, they've been switching stories with you all day. So
cool.
Yeah, you convinced him. He's like, you're really twisting my arm here, buddy. You're really making things hard for me. But yeah, okay. And it's like one of those like you can feel like you're pulling to the edge of like what is like you're being an annoyance, but they do it for you anyways. And you hope like maybe I just have very friendly interactions next time. Moving on. They eventually pull up to another ship to go do a bit of trade, a ship that they knew was like from Forven or whatever. They go do a bit of trade, and you're able to jump passage. And because they end up doing trade, with that ship, you don't have to pay any passage. They let you hop across, and eventually that ship will pull into Forven. When it pulls into Forven, it's so late in the day because they spend so much time out there fishing. Forven has different fishing methods than how this town does. And if you're curious what the town's name is, Forensic, it literally doesn't have one. It's too small to have a name. So anyways, so Forven is, as you're pulling into Forven, it's so late that the sun is very low on the horizon. The sky above your head is dark, and there's just colors very far to the west. You can barely see anything over there, but you're told there's mountains that way. Either way, as you're pulling into Forven, the streetlights are already lit. That's right. They have lanterns up at least 2 of their roads inside of Forven.
Okay.
It's like a
Good
town.
sign.
Yeah, like a town. Like there's lights there. You can even see smoke coming from chimneys in people's homes as they're like cooking for the evening or whatever it might be. And as the ship pulls up, it just doesn't dock. It actually has like a proper pier that it pulls up into, like a long dock that stretches out. And not just one, but it also has 2 or 3 smaller docks off of it as well. Again, like this is a much more built up place. So when you finally get off of the boat and you start walking up towards the wharf, is an overstatement, but you get the idea. When you're walking up towards it, you can see the roads here are dirt, but like there's buildings, like actual buildings, and there's people down here. There's fishermen and women around, doing the typical jokes and cussing and whatever it is as they're doing work, and there's even a warehouse nearby, and you can even see like a proper shop. Like Forven has, it's like a legitimate town that's here. Great news. What does your character immediately go to do?
He's gonna need to find a place to sleep. It's already late. So, but no, honestly, the first thing, because it's not actually night yet, he probably just kind of walks through the town a little bit, just kind of taking it in, because that was a much longer journey to get here than he expected it to be. So he's feeling a little like kind of relief and just like sort of happy, and kind of wants to like, so this was my first destination. He feels a little like twinge of being a bit closer to his ancestors, having successfully traveled for once. So yeah, he's probably just walk along the roads, taking the sights, look at the signs, just try to get a few details on a stroll through Forven before it gets too dark.
One of the first places that, as you're strolling through, over by like the water area, it really catches your eye. Forven is a town on the lake, right? But it's also a town on the river. It's where, similar to like the tiny town you were at beforehand, it meets where the river to the north meets here. So like southern Forven is on the lake with docks. Western Forven is on the river with docks. And so there's like a good amount of commerce that comes through here because of that. Not like a crazy amount. It's not like it's a wealthy place or any stretch of imagination. It's certainly not bustling. Just bustling compared to what you saw. Way the fuck smaller than Dorwin, right?
Yeah.
That all being said, there's a decent amount here. And there's this one area that catches your eye. It's like a chain of 2, maybe even 3 warehouses. The third one, the reason I say maybe is because the third one is like such a small building. It might just be like an office or whatever is associated with, but warehouses all painted similarly. And I do say painted. They're not just like, wood or stained wood. They're like painted similarly, though the paint is very worn and cracked and whatnot. That's nestled like comfortably between the 2 docks that are there, to the point where you can even see people coming and going from the boats of both different docks to and from. Like there's an actual like decent amount of stuff happening there. And as you're walking by and seeing this stuff going, there's a gentleman that stands outside, and he's kind of watching the situation to play out. He's dressed, I'm going to use the word well, but let me describe that. He's dressed well for somebody who makes good money in a tiny town.
Fair.
Like his clothes,
probably still better than me.
yeah. Well, no. Like your clothes, if you and him had new outfits, yours were way better than his.
Yeah, I'm sure mine started better than his.
Yeah, but as it stands right now, yours are scuffed up, have patches on it, and so on and so forth, whereas his are just worn, And so that being said, he is standing there kind of like watching the situation. You can clearly tell by the way that he's like overseeing it, the way he's dressed and whatnot. This is likely his establishment, his business. And even at one point in time, as you're stopping, as you feel like you got a fucking rock in your shoe, you start to pull it out. You can see like somebody that stops to talk to him, clearly a captain of sorts, whatever it is. They're having a bit of a hushed conversation. You see out of the corner of your eye, nothing uncouth or anything like this. So they're having a hushed conversation. One of them grabs the other one's shoulder. Like the captain grabs his shoulder, almost confirming the deal. And you can see the look in his face is like, "Don't touch me." And eventually the captain kind of like walks off, and he takes one more last look at the buildings that are there. Again, likely his warehouses before he turns and starts going his own direction. The moment you finish clearing out the rock from your shoe and you've gotten up and you've already taken like a step or two, as he like takes notice of your existence, and he gives you like an appraising look as he walks by, but certainly gives no like gesture of greeting, no head nod, wave, smile, nothing, just like an appraising look as he goes and walks past you. Any details, or just thanks and keep moving?
I'm considering it. No, he would honestly probably keep moving, because one of the other things that is on his mind, of course, being here, even though he was kind of enjoying the stroll and having that event unfold was interesting, but he's also probably getting hungry by this time and realizing there's probably places here to actually get proper food, maybe even like seafood and stuff. There's like rivers and whatnot. And he was looking forward to that when he had all of his money that he now has to ration. So instead, he's going to go figure out where wagon stops are. Stables, that kind of thing. See if he recognizes anything.
Great point. Because, funny enough, there is multiple places where a wagon would approach, but first you'd have to find out how somebody who, because you came from south of the lake that had a river going east-west of it, so there'd have to be a bridge to cross to get across that lake to get to Forven, because it's north of that lake and river. And you're also east of a river that goes north-south. So there's to be some means of crossing a bridge to get here from where it was. And so with that in mind, you look around for that, or even inquire about it, and you realize there are no bridges to get to Forven. If you want to cross the river, like across a bridge to get to Forven, the north-south river, so going eastward across a bridge, you'd have to go as far north as Leshev. And if you wanted to cross the river on a bridge, you'd have to go as far east as Harrod. There is no bridge in Forven that crosses the river anywhere. So it's either a boat, you have to be the bridge in Leshev, or the bridge in Harrod. The river here is too wide for them to have been able to construct one, at least for them to make that the cost was worth the effort.
Yeah. What did they have, like 2 horses?
The people that you were looking for? Yeah.
Seems like it'd be really dangerous to afford a river too wide to safely make a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they could find a spot to do that. So the conclusion there is either I got hustled right away when they said they could take me to Forven. Definitely couldn't, and if I was more street smart, I would have known that. Or they have some other way in that maybe only they know, or only a few people know.
I like that you called that out, Keegan, because you just realized they hit you for a mark that early.
Yeah.
And they say we can take you as far as Forven, and you're like, well, I know where that is on the map. That sounds good to me. They were like, we got one. Mm-hmm. And you're like, your character is like sitting there and having these conversations. Again, there's that moment you kind of like stop on the side of the road, and you're like, God damn it!
Yeah, he's like seething. He probably just stops walking. Like he's probably kind of walking around, maybe even muttering to himself occasionally. Like kind of looks up, and he's like, "Well, it's going this way." Okay, but there's no. And he just stops, pauses, and will just like turn and just like kick something really hard, like curse really loudly in the middle of the night. Takes a deep breath, runs like one hand through the hair, and then he will just march back into the town. Did he pass any inns or anything like that on his way in?
Yeah, there are, and I also want to point a couple of details out. So there actually is one cobbled road out of the entire town. And so that one cobbled road actually heads northward, specifically from the warehouse that's there. It heads northward to the edge of town, and from the warehouse, sorry, not to the edge of town, northward to the where the docks are, And from that warehouse, it also goes eastward to where the other docks are. So the only cobbled road goes from dock to dock and has literally that warehouse in the middle of it, which is convenient, very convenient. And there are, of course, stables not too far off from it. Likely don't belong to that, whoever owns that, because it's not painted the same, but definitely has that, like, conveniently, if you were bringing a wagon of stuff, you'd likely use this warehouse here. But you have in your head already, it's very unlikely if they were to come here that they would already be here, right?
Yeah.
If they're actually coming this way, it's very unlikely they would already be here. As for your question about inns, yep, there are several inns that you had seen here, because this place is moderately traveled. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people actually stay here as maybe if you're traveling from river to lake or whatever it might be. It's actually, there are inns. So it's a matter of what the vibe is that you're looking for.
Cheap. Cheap is the vibe he's looking for.
I like it. All right.
Which, by the way, speaking of being like noted as a mark early on, I didn't miss that my boy said if you head north, you can reach the lake when our journey wasn't over yet. I did not miss that as a player. Mikhail just wrote that off as this idiot probably doesn't know how to speak properly. So I had a feeling right then that I was about to get hustled.
I mean, you made friends with them by playing good music and sharing drink. I mean, that's nice, right?
Listen, I haven't revealed all of my background yet, but my character knows that even if you're friends with somebody, you can still swindle.
Well, anyways, so good night, Giselle. So you sir, are able to brain's not working. Sorry. You sir are able to go and certainly find a cheap place. So cheap even that you're pretty sure that you can play music in exchange for an evening in the room. As a matter of fact, they're even willing to make a deal with you. You want to play for a few nights this week, if you play, say, for several nights, they'll let you stay the whole week.
Yeah, I'll go for that.
Cool. Allowing you to stay and effectively do like a air quotes week of downtime activity, if you will. Right?
Yeah.
Cool.
He does not need to hit the road again anytime soon.
Yep.
So.
And this gives you, Keegan, time to start trying to like dig in and find some details you want. So let's take a step back from travel, because for a moment, any amount of travel is kind of put on pause. You've gone very far. To be clear about where you've gone, how far you've gone since you what's my brain looking to say?
Left.
Since you left from Derwin, I can actually give you a miles tracker in just 1 second. I have to. It always appears at almost 3,000 miles long whenever I create it, so I have to make it way shorter first. Hold on. Which is annoying, but just is what it is.
Yep. Crap, got slipped in my eye.
Now it's 1,700 miles long. Hold on. All right, now it's about 600 miles long. Hold on. And here we go. Settle you down in Derwent. So as the crow flies, and certainly not the way that you actually traveled, you have traveled 190 miles as the crow flies. So you yourself have traveled way more than that. It's important to note the average person does not travel more than a couple dozen miles from their home. You know what I mean? Why would you travel that far away with the dangers that exist out there? I mean, you did not bump into a plains cat. For Christ's sakes, if you did,
lucky for me, you
would not be alive, right? Like, that is an insane distance to travel. All right, so continuing. You're getting Rosin energy. Didn't you know that Rosin's character's name was Ellie? Didn't you know that that is Rosin's alter ego? That's Roz's other login.
Wow.
Was her character's name actually Ellie? I think it was.
I don't know. I wasn't in that one.
The character that like Roz actually got a tattoo of the dagger that her character had. Oh man, I must. I bet it must tweak for Norway that Roz got that tattoo with what that dagger was a part of.
I wouldn't doubt it. Wouldn't blame him too much, honestly. From what I heard about that game, that campaign.
All right, back to our thing.
Okay.
It was Ellie. Okay, I thought that was her name. All right, back to game. So we are. You're here in Forven. You make this deal, and so you have some time to spend. More or less, your character is going to be able to play to cover living expenses. If you want, you can also go ahead and roll for me before you roll. Roll for me performance, because if you do particularly well, you actually might be able to make a little extra coin on the side too, right? Over the course of the next few days. But finally, there's also if you want to lean into those stories that you know, you might be able to impact your ability to learn more from other people as well. So if you want to make your check about knowledge, it's once a week, right? But you would do that at the tail end of this week. So it would be count as once a week. Yep.
Okay. So he definitely that's I will say the goals right now are he needs to earn some money. He still has some, but it ain't a lot. And get more information about. At this point, he's a little bit fixated on probably Chaos Keep right now.
Okay.
Because that seems like it's the closest thing he has. Is the one he has the most information on right now.
Sure.
To sort through. But okay, so first is
since you're doing that one again.
Perform first. Okay.
I think because you rolled so well last time at that 22, I'm willing to allow that to give you for this roll this time a +1.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you a +1 for this one.
So you want me to do the knowledge first, and then I'll do the perform?
Yep.
Okay. Or lore, technically. One better.
All right. There you go. Mark down. You have a +2 next time. You got over 20 again. Let's give you a +2 for next time you're specifically rolling for this trait feature of yours. But if you roll low, you'll lose all of it, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, cool. All right, where were we? So yeah, now you can roll your actual performance check.
Yeah.
Decent. Enough to earn yourself a proper like the innkeeper that lets you stay there is not sad by the decision. It's not one of those things like I got screwed on this deal. Like you put on a proper performance, and like you're an actual musician, like you put on a proper performance. But it's not one of those things where it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is one of the greatest ones I've ever heard. It's like you put on a good show. Appreciate you. And they would even be willing to let you stay on a bit longer if needed. Though that's certainly not your intention to do so at this point. So we should touch on, since we are talking about the calendar or whatever it is right now. I don't know how long you stay here. It's important to note that in Aurorum, or at least the calendar that you guys are going to use in the common calendar, the Paradel calendar, there are 7-day weeks. So when I say a week, I do mean 7 days. There are 7 days in a week. And even though there are 7 days in a week, there are 4 weeks inside of a month. So exactly 4 weeks inside of a month, making months 28 days long. And there are 13 months in a year. So instead of a typical 12-month year, there are 13 months in a year. So you are in the 8th month of the year as it stands right now. And I am still, as I said beforehand, kind of like writing what these are all called. So, for instance, I already have several of the months named. It's like the first one is Harwi and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. But you're in the 8th month of the year, not the 7th. So, in the 8th month of the year. Yeah, I did? Cool. Mm-hmm. So, like, the 7th month I have is Lutha, but I don't have the 8th month written down. That's what it's called. I have the 12th and 13th, but not the 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th. But either way, so is early autumn. So, exactly 4 weeks in a year, 13 months in a year. And then outside of those 13 months, there are exactly 2 holidays. between the 13th month and the first month, there is a holiday. It is literally a holiday for Lady Aravel. Don't worry about what it's called right now. And then between the 6th and the 7th month, there's another holiday honoring the martyr, specifically. And this is in the Paradel calendar, because those are the two most important goddesses in Paradel's eyes. All right. Cool. Moving on. Where were we? Oh, and Krelene is often given homage during that time, too. It's like the 13th month to the first month, it could be like, the renewal. So like, celebrating the new year or the passions of summer and all that fun shit. Moving on. Cool. Where were we? We were talking about, so spend a proper week. Keegan, during that proper week that you have, your character can actually start acquiring some information. For this, you can go ahead and roll your performance. Your diplomacy check, but if I remember correctly, you actually get a bonus on this from that. You go ahead and roll. I'll be back in 1 second.
Okay. I think my ability gives me a +1. Yeah, +1. Hi, how you guys doing? It's my stream now. Look at me. Look at me. I am captain now. I make the rules, which means that roll you see there, that's a 50. That is a 50 diplomacy check. It was very easy, and for that, I think I'll be generous. I'll let Scott decide what that 50 does, because he seems to really like telling stories, and he's good at it. Oh wait, he's back now. Don't nobody tell him.
What's up?
I rolled.
Oh, nice. Did that include the +1 or whatever you got for your correct performance check?
I believe I get a plus 33
to influence, right? Yeah.
to that for this. Yeah, plus 33, so that should be like a 50.
Yeah, that math seems, it seems right. Okay, yeah.
Or I'll set it for like a +1 though, just to be like fair, because we got to have some conflict.
Dude, by the way, I won't lie. I thought of this last second when we were setting up for the stream. I was like, oh, what should I do for my backdrop for this campaign? And then I realized, if I use my "Be Right Back" one, and then if I step away for a second, it literally will show on stream like, oh, I'll be right back. Like, hey, that works.
It actually worked out.
Yeah. I was like, hey, this is a last second decision, and it's by the same artist did this that did all of this. So it's like, it actually works.
That is pretty smart. Oh, speaking of being pretty smart, True Initiate also said something else true, which is that 50 sounded good to them.
Yeah, 50 cent. 50 cent, right? Like a bottle full of bugs,
in the
right?
club was pretty good.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree.
Mini-Men, that was really good.
Yeah.
It got turned into like a meme with the whole Trump thing, and that was kind of annoying.
Yeah. Well,
I gotta get shot 9 times. Like, come on.
Did you see the funny? It's probably like a year old now at this point. But when the Eminem is a doctor and he's like, "You can only get one shot." He's like, "1 shot? I got shot 9 times." And he's like, "Weird flex, bro."
Right.
It was just funny.
Like, literally nobody in the chat's got any idea what you're talking about.
What? No, it was an Eminem meme. No, well, not meme. Like a Jimmy Kimmel thing.
I mean, it was kind of. It really wasn't a meme. It was just kind of a bit.
Yeah, it was a bit. It was a Jimmy Kimmel bit.
But yeah, that's got the +1 I get from my thingamajig in there.
If I laugh at your joke, will you accept? I mean, if you had laughed initially, yes, but at this point, it's too late. So, what do you say we get back to the game? So yeah,
I'll take the 17. That's fine.
Yeah. So with your 17 total, with your diplomacy, trying to gather some information specifically about, it's convincing them and trying to gather information, so on. You actually are able to gather a good amount of. Sorry, that I got feedback. You're able to get a good amount of information about the local region and some stuff that's going on here. So
okay,
we'll get some basic information for you to note, and then we're going to touch on your the rumors specifically you're looking for, right? So first and foremost, we already heard somewhat of the geography of like Leshev, Forven, Harrod, and Hod Gwen that's over there, right? One of the things that you don't know is, whereas Forven is a strange town because it's both on the edge of a river and a lake, Hodgwen is actually at the fork of two rivers. So if you were to visit, Hodgwen has two rivers that fork through there. And, there's old rumors that sometimes the river flows the wrong way and stuff like that, which is some weird shit. There's also word that, if you were to head to the forests that's north of where you are in Forven, that people say there's rumors of weird things that happen inside the forests. They even say that, the forests north of here, sometimes people go traveling through those forests and they don't return, that the forests themselves are cursed, if you will, which is, again, a strange thing to discuss. And it leads you to believe, the Chaos Keep is, at the edge of a forest. Maybe that's where it's in reference to, but we'll get back to more of those details shortly. You're also able to, hear all sorts of other things too, from people here of the, some people say, sometimes people around here, they just go disappearing. We don't know why, but sometimes people just disappear in the middle of the night. They just gone entirely. So you gotta be mindful. You know what I mean? They say, some people say it's the captain of the guard that's doing it. Some people say it's ghosts, but you got to be careful, otherwise, gone. Never travel alone. Not in these streets at night. Got to be careful out there. Heading over to the details about the Chaos Keep itself, people tell you that the Chaos Keep it's a rumor. Oh, that's a lie. That's just what the free folk tell you to keep you away from their home. It ain't true. It's a lie. And somebody else no, it's not. My cousin went by the Chaos Keep. He went there with a group of his friends. I'll tell you right now, when he came back, he was shook like nothing you would ever believe. They say he came back with blood under his nails and lost the way to talk. No, you don't go that way. It's wrong. No, that's not true. I'm telling you, it's a free folk conspiracy. You stay away from them, free folk. Barbarians, every one of them. Eat your kids. That's what they say. Them barbarians out east. Yeah, that's them free folk. They'll eat your kids. You be careful about them. And so so on and so forth. Details like that go on. With the 17, you also will hear a rumor that apparently there are people, apparently there's sometimes traders, people that trade, will come out of the forests. Again, the forests to the north of where you are, where supposedly people just disappear. Supposedly traders sometimes just come out of the forests. Oh no, they don't talk much. They give you that look like they know you. They know you. And they'll come in and they'll make some trades, and they trade strange things. They do strange goods. They spin up some strange cottons. They got some strange fish. That's right. You be careful of those traders that come out of those woods to the north. They some strange folk. And that's kind of the details you get from them. But other than that, you get no heavy. Oh, there's people talk about the mountains to the west of here. They say that the mountains to the west of here themselves are supposedly you have to be careful going in those mountains, because they say you get snatched up in those mountains easier than you do in Meshtez, if you know what I'm saying. You avoid those mountains. They can be a dangerous place. Everybody talks about the plains cats. If you're looking at what's dangerous around here? The plains cats. Don't go out there alone. You go out there with no less than a half dozen people, everybody with spears and bows. That's right. You ain't got a spear, you ain't got a bow, you better have 6 friends with you. Then they better have their spears and bows.
Fucking plains cats.
Yep. And that's kind of what goes on, but it's one of those fun things where, again, you come from Paradel. Your family, your backgrounds, even being in a place like Derwin where people travel from far and go far on travels, small town folk are afraid of everything. Sure, there might be some foundation to their fear. Plains cats are a real thing, but really, every time you travel out there with less than 6 people, all with spears and bows, come on. Every time they get you? Okay. People disappear from the streets at night? Yeah. Oh, yeah, get swallowed up by the mountains? Yep. Yeah. Oh, and there's a Kraken in the lakes, right? It's just that small town kind of feeling that you're getting, and it's just a little frustrating because you knew you were going to be coming through rumors. And you've sifted through rumors before, but the quality of rumors that you get in a place like this are not the same as you were getting in Derwin.
Yeah. These are very basic. These are pumpkin spice rumors.
You just offended a handful of viewers.
You can like basic things. That's fine.
It's all right. My wife's basic.
Pumpkin spice tastes good, but still basic.
I like pumpkin pie, but that's it.
That's what the taste is. Like, the pumpkin isn't really providing the flavor. Either way. So that's what he gets. And then, does anyone ever mention Orsugo in all of this?
Yeah. Oh, great question. So if you're specifically calling to Orsugo, some people don't believe it's real, and some people say they've heard rumors, but like they also, so you'll hear things like, "No, that's not true. That's just what Varen says to jack up the prices of them their horses that they got." Like, that's not true. They're just trying to take you to market, if you know what I mean. Really riding you with that crop, aren't they? You're getting all squinty.
Just that phrasing.
Really riding you with that crop. You know, like,
Yep.
No?
Yep. Nope.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm good.
No.
So, okay, so they mostly just are like, he's bullshit. That's just Varen using this to jack up the price of horses.
Yeah. But this is not new to you. You know that the best horses in all of Eroth, as far as where you know, come from either like, Adirian steeds, are known to be very, very, very quality horses, and parts of Perenhia will have theoretically some really fine horses too.
Okay, and it stands to reason they do come from Varen, or that they at least sell them there.
Yeah. If people are like, "Oh, where's Varen on a map?" You're like very far east of here in Adir. They're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense." Yeah, it touches Perenhia and all that.
Okay, so that rumor is almost certainly stupid. Okay. Alrighty, good to know. Okay, so I don't really hear anything. I mean, I know I got just a 17, so I don't really get much that has any direction that stands out from the other general rumors.
Correct. At least as it stands right now with where you are. I'm going to continue with an RP element soon, but I wanted to get like the general stuff out of the way. Cool. Okay. So, like the second to last day that you're, so it's one of those things where you didn't, she's like, you can, stay the week if you want, but like, you didn't have to play every day, 7 days in a week. You had to play for 4 of them, but she even spread it out. It's like the 7th day of your staying there, you'd have to play. And so you're like, oh, really getting your money's worth out of me, right? And so if you stay the full time, whatever. But so your 6th day that you're there, you don't have to play this night. There's like a day where you're actually just kind of like hanging out inside the tavern and, having whatever, was cooked that evening. You're given food for free. And you're even offered, 2 drinks, not expensive, 2 drinks that you can have. For that, actually, why don't we have you roll some luck? And by that, have somebody in chat roll a D100. Obviously, higher is better.
Okay. True Initiate's been saying some truly unhinged things, so I want them to roll.
Okay, D100 True Net. But in the meanwhile, while you're sitting there and having your food and enjoying your beverage, you are going to enjoy the somebody's gonna end up sitting there and like near enough by you, and they're being friendly enough with talking and have like a more reserved, like they're more straight backed. They're dressed decently. They have a bit more diction to the way they speak. Their accent suggests not fucking bumpkin, but it still has like an Adirian style way of speaking accents, idioms and whatnot they're using. And so this person kind of like piques your interest. Ooh, an 80. 80 is the minimum cutoff for what I wanted to do. You actually realize that there's a cheap beer that you really fucking love. It's called Glugmug Ale. So there's this beer called it's Glugmug Ale, and it's like it's not expensive, and it's actually really good. And so whereas you were only allowed to have like not too expensive stuff, you're like your third day there, you're like, oh, let me try that one, and you're like, oh, and you've just been drinking it every day since because it's like legitimately enjoyable and still within the realm of allowed to get without getting in trouble.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But anyways, so this person's like straight back to whatever it is, and they kind of like catch your attention as somebody probably worth interacting with. And so clearly, you know, you want to work your way into conversation with them. And so you're like waiting for that right moment of how it is that you can, like work your way into it. And so with that being said, there's like a moment that passes where, sorry, my brain just skipped a beat for a second, where they'll actually make mention of, what's it called? They'll mention, be like, they'll ask the bartender, be like, hey, quick question. Do you know if any docks, if any ships have docked here recently, waving flags of Vala? And so the bartender will kind of like scoff. No. Oh. If you don't mind my inquiring, why the reaction? You think anybody's going to have the kind of balls that it takes to fly a Vala flag pulling into these docks? No. No, that's not a thing. Curious. Do you mind my asking why they wouldn't ask? I mind you taking my time, but yeah, I can answer that for you. They're, Vala isn't exactly Peridot in general, not exactly liked around these parts. They certainly will take their coin, but we don't exactly want to deal with them sorts, Del, as they are. And then all of a sudden the face drops, the eyes narrow. You're not Del, are you? Oh, no. I'm from Leshev. I just was, curious about, a ship that might be passing through. Mm-hmm. Anyways, ain't no Del ship sailing in here. They got their 2 cents on them with a flag waving, suggesting it. I don't know if they're expecting hospitality. And she says, like, rolling her eyes, and looks over to you and says, hey, sweetie, did you want another glug mug? You only had one so far.
Yes, please.
And then I'll go over and grab it and puts it down, like, on your thing and says, you're always so polite. And, like, hearing that said, he, like, looks over your direction and just gives you, like, when you, like, accidentally make eye contact, there's that moment where he gives you, like, just a small, like, dips the chin a moment and then goes to turn back to looking forward again.
He probably catches Mikhail, like, right as she's like, oh, you're polite, and then she's walking away. Mikhail has that look of just like, oof, on his face. I'm just like, I'm glad that hasn't come out. And then, like, makes eye contact with the guy. It's like, just goes back to drinking his ale.
Like a couple moments pass, and then they'll actually turn to you and say, do you mind, pardon me, sir, are you drinking alone?
Look at the 2 seats next to me that are empty. For now.
Would you care to have a companion? It's conversation can be rather limited around here. He says, clearly trying to be a little reserved trying not to be offensive with what he's saying.
Yeah, everyone else here is busy, and if I talk to myself, I mean, I'm a good conversationalist, but people will say things. And so I just motion to the seat next to me.
Nods appreciatively. Before getting up, calls over to the bartender, to the owner of the place, and says, when my meal finally arrives, that phrasing she narrows her eyes on, do you mind, and gestures to the table, having it brought there instead? And she says, yeah, I'll see to it. Like, clearly, again, like, you know her well enough at this point to know, like, she's like, do you think I couldn't see that you moved 8 feet to the side? Like, what is wrong with you?
Like, why would you call this out?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Like, what are you doing? But anyways, so they go over and they go to sit with you. As they sit with you, and you can, like, get a proper, look of the individual, First and foremost, you can see that they're not young, but they're not old either. They are obviously Perrin, and they're starting to show like the early signs of being Perrin. So maybe in their early 30s, maybe late 30s, somewhere in that range. And they say, "Thank you for the invitation for company." And they will, without like going to shake your hand, they say, "My name is Jen Smith, Cleveland Jen Smith."
Well met, Cleveland. Mikhail
Uh,
Kethrel.
when you say the last name, he'll actually raise an eyebrow and say, "Oh, not from around here."
Probably the accent that gave me away.
He smiles slightly and says, "I'm not familiar with it, to be honest. However, you do have incredible diction, and you stand out of sorts. For instance, those threads aren't homespun or made by any shop nearby. And I did have the opportunity to hear you finishing up your music as I checked in last night." Lowers his voice a little bit and says, "Was it from one of the universities down south?"
He kind of glances up and says, I may have dabbled a bit. You familiar?
Nods slowly and says, "When I was younger, I was fortunate enough to have my father bring me through, well, we were heading through Meshtez down to Derwin. Unfortunately, our trip in Derwin was several hours, and that's it. But in Meshtez, there were a couple of musicians that are said to have trained at the university, and I've never heard its equal in music until last night."
Wasn't even quite my best performance. More routine, but thank you.
He says, "Well, then, hopefully there's more music to be heard. So, honestly, I'll be heading early in the morning myself. What brings you this way?"
If you don't mind me swapping questions for questions, you were looking for a ship from Vala?
You say that, and his again now elongating ears kind of like perk up for a second, as you can see, like it looks around to make sure nobody else heard. But again, your character's smart enough to know her habits well enough that she's across the way. You can see her, bent over, cleaning something off of her table, grumbling to herself for the mess that these animals left behind before they, left the table. And seeing that it's safe, he nods and says, "Indeed, I'm here on a task from my father. No other. There's a ship that we expected to stop by in Mashev, but unfortunately, it is possible that they chose to skip their stop in Leshev and to take their wares elsewhere. Some dispute. I'm hoping to cut off and catch the captain and smooth things over."
He nods. Best of luck with that. Unfortunately, I didn't see any such thing when I got here. I didn't come flying a flag either.
Understands and says, "Well, why do you have?" So he then repeats his question from before about what are you doing this far north?
He says, right. It's an interesting story, actually. At least I hope it is. I'm studying. You can consider me a traveling scholar at this point. I'm trying to find out more about the Idirian curses. The foul magics that seem to plague this land in a permanent way. Magic's such a curious thing, but as far as I know, it tends to be temporary, maybe even fleeting when you consider just the length of time that's passed throughout history and these things seem to have endured. There's so many rumors about them. They seem to have such a strange effect on culture and knowledge we have of the land, I want to try to find the fact from fiction and maybe uncover a few of the mysteries of them along the way.
He nods, appreciatively of the full explanation that you gave there, and he says, "Interesting indeed. There are interesting stories to be had. I might even know somebody that can help with that." He says, kind of like more to himself than to you. Like it's not quite under his breath, but the way that he's kind of like looking off to the side. Go ahead and roll me a sense motive real quick.
Okay. Do sense motive.
You get a strong impression that it wasn't meant to be like an intentional like dangling a carrot in front of you. Like he's genuinely being thoughtful, like truly like thinking to himself, like I might know somebody. Like he's just trying to like put two and two together. And anyways, he just kind of like shakes his head, like seemingly not even aware of the fact that he said that out loud, and goes, "I believe you were supposed to ask a question next," and then. So.
Just, sure. Do you happen to know anyone who may be able to shed some light on that?
You can see there's like a moment of pause, and then like all of a sudden it clicks that he had said that out loud, and he'll like chuckle. He'll chuckle and say, Keen. Indeed, I very well may. He's such an old codger now. I'm just trying to recall the stories of when he was willing to share them as a boy. Benefits of being Perrin is I've lived long enough that even the codgers were young when I was, right? Anyways.
Must be nice.
He shrugs and says, I'm told it wears off over time, but waves away the notion. Rook is his name. When he was younger, he was once a cartographer of sorts, a map maker. And so I remember like he traveled all over different regions, like properly doing cartography for different lands, whomever would hire him to do so. Now he's just kind of, again, codger is the word that I would use to describe him. Anyways, he is serves on the council in Leshev, and so therefore is a colleague of my father's, Yellen Jumpsmith. Might even be able to introduce the two of you were you to come this way, but again, you might not even want that.
Would there be any particular reason? It's your turn.
he'll chuckle and like to the honesty of that one, and he'll actually like as the food like he's chuckling and then like the food is being brought over and put down. He goes, "Oh, wonderful, thank you. I'm just going to need some utensils because clearly there are none there. I'm just going to need some utensils, and if I could get..." And he looks up at her and is surprised with a sharp look in her face, and he's like, "And if I could get a tumble from my friend and I here." And when he says "my friend," she looks at you sharply, like now you've done something wrong.
There's an instinctive like shrink down away from it. He says, "Please."
And then she's like, "Yeah," and then turns and walks off to go and get them. And then like he just again seems like perplexed by how this is playing out, and you can see again he's like swallowing thoughts, and then continues. And while he's speaking, she'll come over and very heavily, like with her thump down a fork and a spoon and a knife, which he could have just used a fork, and also she will put down a tumble for each of you to drink. It's like a small amount of like whiskey to drink, right?
Thank you.
And when she puts it there, he actually looks down at it, and the color of the whiskey that's there, it's like you can see he's like staring at the color of it, and like as he went to go start speaking, it's almost like he's lost in thought again. Then kind of like shakes his head, and through a breath, looks at you and says, "No, it's fine. You were asking introduction. Why?"
Yeah. Why would I not want that?
He's a codger. He's a very, very surly and grumpy and unkind old codger. I'm sure you've heard the old adages of old men chasing children from their lawns for, I don't know, whispering too loudly. He makes them seem like welcoming neighbors. He's just not a very pleasant individual, and sits on the councilor to represent the people. So, you know.
I think I would still rather risk an unpleasant interaction than to miss out on such an opportunity. Surely it's fairly difficult to get that kind of audience, especially just this new to the land. Yes, I also see chat. I feel like I can't pass that up if you're offering.
Yeah, well, he shrugs and says, I'd be more than happy to when I'm able to travel back north again. And then he gets thoughtful for a few moments, and then he says, "Oh, my question, yes." And then all of a sudden his eyes light up when he remembers what his question was, and he says, "So we've already confirmed that you studied at the university." He lowers his voice and says, "Dare I say, good man, are you a musician or are you a bard?"
I will drink my tumbler.
Yeah. When you reach for it, you can see like his eyes like light up with a bit of excitement, and he will reach over and grab his as well. And he watches you over the top of the glass as he takes his and finishes. And here's where a funny difference takes place. You guys both finish your drink, and when you guys finish your drink, he puts his down standing up, and you put yours down upside down, which is a tradition for where you come from. But it's just something that you might note. Yeah. But he certainly does it while he's waiting for you to say the detail.
I didn't know I'd get the opportunity to say the proper what's the fucking word I'm looking for? Nomenclature for my title. But I would call myself a bard very quietly here.
Is one of those like he taps the nose, like I get it kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And he's excited. And he's like, wonderful. I have I've had the opportunity to meet a congressman before. It was a trip that I had to make to Lavalve to straighten out a few merchants. And I will say it is quite the experience. It's a pleasure to meet my second congressman. Pleasure to meet you. And of course, Keegan, you know that is.
He just blinks. Like he's like clearly trying to figure out, like, is this like making a joke that I'm missing, or is, I'm not a congressman.
He goes. He like sits there and stares at you like for a couple moments and says, "Not. But you're trained in the extra arts as well, yeah?"
I mean, certainly, but I've come here as a scholar. I didn't tell any. I mean, I told you the truth. I'm still preparing to finish the last of my studies.
Interesting. You contemplate.
Oh.
Go ahead.
He kind of says, "Wait, when you say congressman, you mean? What do you mean by that?"
That you serve the Arcane Congress. He says it. He says like he starts to say loudly, and he's like, "That you serve the Arcane Congress."
studied and served are different.
Thinks that for a moment, and he's like, like, a few moments pass. Like the difference between a warrior and a soldier.
I think that's a proper ratio.
So, and then a few moments pass, and he says, interesting. You were meant to ask me a question next, but she has yet to give me a napkin for me to properly drape, so I'll have to,
Just give her a moment. Just give her a moment.
and he's like, you say that, and he's like, oh?
Yeah. Usually you like just give her a second. She'll probably bring one.
She's not gonna bring one. And so, as conversation goes on, eventually he just looks around several times and then gives up and just starts eating without a napkin. And but continue.
I was gonna say that when like she looks over, I would like kind of motion of just like kind of mouth like napkin.
Oh yeah.
Just so that it's not like as, hey, you didn't give me a napkin. Like
yeah, of course. She of course is still giving you sharp looks, though certainly not daggers like she's giving him. Like she's like, who is this mother? Anyway, so you're welcome to ask him the next question.
Jesus. So he knows that guy. That's nice. And he has okay, so I'd ask, what do you need in order to go back north? Do you have to find this ship?
I mean, the plan is to find it, but certainly I would not be put on a task where I'm doomed for failure. I'm not going to walk the lands of Eroth for the next decades trying to find the ship. Instead, I was hoping to catch wind of rumor if it's already passed through. If it has, in fact, done so, then there's no need to continue searching. But if it hasn't yet, then it's likely that I can still ahead of it and can get to it. Though, truth be told, if I'm ahead of it, then maybe it hasn't even passed through Leshev yet, and I have been sent here too soon. Whatever the case may be, it is what the council deemed, and so it is the errand that was given by my father.
Well, then I'd presume the faster that task is completed, the faster you can go north, and the faster I can have this audience.
Nods. True enough, yes. Well,
I'm sure that comes off as selfish, but
no, I mean, I appreciate the offer. I was actually going to make the offer of drafting you a letter of introduction instead, so you can meet with him. As I said, he may very well have stories to benefit you.
I'll take it.
But, he says, almost like ignoring that, says, but if you're offering to discern whether or not the ship has passed through.
I suppose that would be one hand washing the other. I can see what I can find. I can start. Well, first, we're not going to find a ship flying a Vala flag. So what other kind of markings would it have had? Anything else that would stand out to note the crew? As she said, no one would fly the Vala flag coming in.
That's a good point. It's a good point indeed. Well, as I said, this ship would be coming from north, from Vala itself, though this particular ship would not be coming from Lvov or even Zatishk. It's actually coming of Ravenhold, and so because of that, one of the markings would be the accent that they have. The peoples of Ravenhold have a very distinctive accent separate from that you would find in the rest of Vala. They have a pretty tight-knit culture there. That and this particular captain is known to have a marking, a tattoo, and his closest and most loyal crew have a similar one that they bear. And so the ability to note these would suggest that they have come through as well. But, you know.
What's the tattoo?
Oh, it's a great question. There's like a moment where he like goes to say it, and then there's like a pause, and like you can see like he is growing uncomfortable with the idea of saying what it is.
If you'd rather write it, I'm literate.
No, he shakes his head and says, "Do you know what a cat o' nine tails is?"
I'm assuming I do.
Like a whip.
Yeah, I mean, I know as a PC, but...
Oh, yeah. Your character... Yeah, your characters certainly heard stories, the more lurid ones.
Yeah.
He says it, like, again, like, under his breath, asks you, and you say, yeah, says, that's what he bears, and, well, it's not 9, though, it's 5, and he has 5 crew members that each have a proper bullwhip tattoo themselves. To the left or the right forearm, one of the two. They have it. It's a marking they have to one another. Shrugs and says, honestly, I think it's a rather uncouth way to mark your flesh, but it has some significance to them.
Seems a bit suggestive, but at least it'll be easy to spot as long as... Huh. I imagine they try to cover those, but what sort of cover would they try to take here? Still, that's better. An accent and a visible marking. That's something I can work with. How long will you be in the city, or in the town?
My intention was to leave early tomorrow morning. I can't continue on forever. My plan was to go as far as Hard Gwen, and then make my way back. I mean, at the very least, while I'm in Hard Gwen, there's herbs that I can gather from down there to bring back home. Purchase them from the source is less expensive than gathering them from those that travel through.
Are we at evening? Night?
Right now?
Like what time?
Yeah, you guys are having dinner, yeah. So it is, you know, there's light in the sky, but not much.
That's not a lot of time to try to gather that before he leaves.
Yeah. You can try, just in the meta here, Keegan, you can try to suggest that he maybe doesn't leave so soon, like try to buy it.
Yeah. I would tell him, I'd try to get him to maybe stay a day or two longer to give me some time to work. And then in the meantime, write that letter. But that I would definitely try.
Okay. So you try to implore for him to stay a little bit longer, and maybe even as part of like that imploring, you sweeten the deal by, well, you did want to hear me play again. I am playing tomorrow night. Stay one more night, and you can duly benefit from it. Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so he, obviously you're being friendly banter back and forth. He thinks on it for like a long moment, and then he says, truth be told, I've never had mutton so overcooked. If I do stay an additional evening, it likely won't be here.
That's fine. I won't have too much trouble finding you as long as you're at a tavern.
Nods slowly and says, oh, fine then. I'll gladly stay the extra night, but I will come here tomorrow for the show. Drinks. But, if you wish to share a meal, it will have to be elsewhere. You know that if you eat here tomorrow, it's free, and if you go somewhere else, you're going to be just wasting money.
I'll be here. I'll be here. So so I'll just kind of smile, give him a nod, and say, as far as the drinks, the Glug Mug's actually very good. I know it's...
No, Glug Mug is delightful. Yes, are you familiar with the Glug Mug family?
It's a family?
Yes, it's a family.
I mean, no.
It's a family of hobgoblins. They are the surname is in fact Glugmug, and They're known for having quite the brewery. I hear they distill as well, but I've never tried it. But considering it's a decent brew, not to my liking. I lean more towards wines, and he says the term, it almost sounds like unnatural coming from his mouth. If I'm slumming it, I will have a mead as well.
This fucking guy. He's like, I like mead. That makes sense. Huh. I guess I'll have to be on the lookout for more of their products.
Looks down and he's like, I've never seen overcooked mutton and undercooked cabbage here. And I'm not sure if this is a potato, but...
It is.
It had a distinctive flavor, almost of turnip. Are you certain this was a potato?
No.
It just kind of, his half-eaten meal. He does like the thing that you don't do, pushes the plate forward. So I'm like, I am done with this. It's just one of those things where it's like you could have moved it to the side, whatever.
Yeah.
It was very much like a open palm, push forward. I am done with this. Like, ugh. And it's one of those things where you're like,
eat with someone who does that in real life. Have to leave the table.
So you said you have?
I said I wouldn't.
Oh,
if I knew someone did that, I'd have to be like, dude, I cannot go out and eat with you.
So it was open palm push forward is one of those things where you witness that and you just like your eyes widen slightly and you look to the side. You're like, hopefully she didn't. And there's like across the room, she's happened to be looking that way at the same time. And you're just like, ugh.
Well, it was certainly nice meeting you. I shouldn't keep you any longer. You've got a long day ahead of you tomorrow, I'm sure. As do I.
And
like as I'm getting up and like starting to like edge away from the bar.
Yep. He says, indeed, we'll speak tomorrow. And then he'll look over and say, I'll take the bill now. Anyways.
I'm just standing far away from him with my loot in front of me like it's a shield.
Yeah. Well, you can luckily retire to your room. Tonight you don't have to play. So,
Yeah.
Actually, with that said, Keegan, would you go and do a little bit more inquiry before you move on?
Jesus. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, sure. So going into the city and trying to find out details about exactly what we just described, why don't you go ahead and roll me a diplomacy check as you gather information?
Sure. I also would go behind that dude's back and like apologize to the waitress. Just be like, I didn't know he was gonna be like that. I don't know him.
Cool. And then go ahead and roll me a perception check.
I did not roll very good.
Okay.
That's all better.
You spend the next few hours while the daylight's still there, walking around, trying to ask people, inquire, whatever it is. There's nothing to do. You don't have to play tonight. You've already been fed. You've already had drink. Like, you're fine. There's nothing that you need. And getting out and walking instead of playing all night long is a nice thing for you to do. The air here is fresh. The early autumn air is fine. It's an enjoyable experience. And honestly, the air off the lake is clean. The city is not. It's not a city. It's a small town, and I do mean small town, like 1,000 or so people live here. Not certainly not bustling by any stretch. Probably maybe even less than 1,000 live here. Whatever the numbers might be, you don't know. It's several hundred at the least. It's a small town, so it doesn't feel grimy or dirty. Whereas Derwin certainly has places that feel grimy and dirty. So it's like nice to just enjoy walks here and to feel safe, which is good. Anyways, unfortunately, everybody that you ask, they either don't have any information or don't really want to talk to you for one reason or another, right?
Yeah.
And so there's no real benefits there. Unfortunately, as the day goes on, you just finally just kind of find yourself walking about, hoping to get some benefit, and you don't come across anything that stands out or is good enough for you. You just start making your way, like, fuck it, I might as well make my way back to the inn. And so you're walking along the cobbled streets that's there, going like one last pass from the one dock to the other one, because it's on the way towards the inn for you to spend the night. And as you're walking by there, you see over in front of the warehouse, as before, there's the same gentleman, dressed differently, obviously, but still in finer clothes, that's out there. And he's having conversation with somebody, like, in the doorway of the warehouse itself. And it's one of those things where it catches your eye because you had noticed him before, having a conversation in the doorway of the warehouse itself. And like as you are passing through, there's like a moment where clearly they finish their business and they actually properly shake hands. And when they do so, from the light coming through the doorway itself, because there's no lights outside the warehouse, just coming through the doorway itself, there's just enough that you can see on the forearm of the gentleman there's a tattoo. And it has 5 lashes to it.
Interesting. And this is the gentleman that... Hold on. So, do I recognize the person who has this tattoo? I got a little mixed up in the...
No, you recognize the person that's leaning out the warehouse door, standing in the warehouse doorway that shakes his hand. The one that you noticed yesterday that or a week ago when you had picked up the rock out of your shoe, you saw he was looking.
Ah, okay. So the guy I recognize is shaking the hand of the dude with the tattoo. Gotcha. Okay.
Cool. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So it's like that moment where you notice that, and then you, like, as you notice, and like, because you linger for a couple extra moments, like looking, the person that's inside the warehouse sees you looking, and he probably doesn't recognize you from the other day, but he gestures towards you, and the other guy looks over his shoulder and sees you looking that direction, and you're like, one of those, however you react, however that might be, and then they just kind of them two break the shake and turn away. And the gentleman in the warehouse just goes in and shuts the door, which just fills the street with more darkness. And because of that, there's lanterns, there's lights around, and certainly near the warehouse there is a lantern that's here. But you can hear and you can certainly see the form, the shadow, the silhouette of somebody that's walking towards you along the cobblestone as that person with the tattoo is approaching. And as they approach, and they finally come into view with your poor human eyes, barely able to see them in the darkness that's there. As they approach, you notice that their hands, their right hand is rest very comfortably on the hilt of their weapon as they're approaching. And they, as they come into view, still silhouetted, still kind of like dark, but you can definitely make out enough detail. You hear them say, "Do we know each other?"
I don't believe so. I'm Mikhail. I can't see you very well. The human eyes.
So you'll be on your way then?
Soon, actually. Apologies. I'll drop any pretense. You probably saw me staring. I noticed you had a tattoo. I didn't get a very good look at it. There's a specific artist I'm looking for. I wasn't sure if you'd be willing to tell me where you got your work done.
When you ask that, you can see that he takes a step forward, and there's a lot of tension throughout his body. A lot of tension that's there. And he says, he's someone that I bumped into Haunted One. Good old friend of mine. He does all my work now. If you're interested, I can introduce you.
Is his name a secret?
No, but I happen to be heading that way. I'm more than happy to give you a ride there.
Well, if it seems as if we don't know each other, that doesn't seem like a wise decision. I've already had my Adirian welcome, see? I appreciate the offer.
Something tells me you haven't gotten a proper Adirian welcome. Come now. I would be more than happy to give you a ride. What's one more ass on my boats? It gives a friend of mine, you know, a little bit more business. It's not a favor to you, it's a favor to them.
Where am I right now?
On the cobblestone in front of the warehouse between the two docks. So the middle point between the two docks, which are a few hundred feet that way or a few hundred feet that way. And as I said beforehand, it was evening when you were having dinner and you spent hours asking before night completely fell. And I've described darkness multiple times.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely very dark. You said there were some lanterns, though, that are out. Are any of those lit nearby? Do I have, like, a clear path? Just, for example, if I was to just make a break for it. Do I have a clear path, or am I running into darkness?
Well, no. So because the cobblestone road does have lanterns, they're just very intermittent, which is what I was describing when you first arrived.
Yeah.
They're very intermittent. So you go like in darkness, out of darkness, in darkness, out of darkness. You know.
Okay, but I'd have clear objective, next checkpoint.
Yep.
Just so that I know that I've got an exit. Okay.
Or if you want a proper exit, like the most direct way away from him, you turn around and you run and jump out into the lake.
Yeah, we'll do that. With my 0 swim check. Let's say, I'd rather not get a ride from a stranger.
Oh.
Shared my name.
Let's not be strangers then.
I need an adult. No,
you can call me
name?
Cap. I'm the captain of my ship, but name's Tor.
And the artist?
Oh, come now.
You said his name wasn't a secret.
I did say that. Fine then. My artist. He goes by, my artist. She goes by the name of Raven.
I don't think that sounds like the person that I needed to meet. I'm sure they do good work, but I'm looking for a very specific individual.
Well, you said that you like this artist.
I barely got a look. Just wanted to offer an explanation of why I was staring. But I think you were correct initially. I will be on my way. I will start to head back to the inn where I was going, where I stay.
You turn to walk away and goes. So
I don't turn around.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not putting my back on this guy.
As you move to walk away, it says, "Truly now, you're not interested in the fine works."
This just seems like a terrible idea. Where did he say they were? He's from Ravenhold.
Yep.
But he says are they in Hodgwyn?
Hodgwyn is what he claims. Yep.
Is that where the codger is?
Is
that where the codger is? Is that where
No,
Rick
the
is?
codger would be Leshev, which is north.
He's in Leshev, that's right. Okay, so I'm not headed to Hodgwyn. I know we're over. What's in Hodgwyn? Do I have any reason to actually want to go there other than like the rivers and more information?
Hodgwyn is like the most, like, if this is a nice proper town, Hodgwyn you can find proper stuff, which is nice. But Leshev, theoretically, there's a person that you can speak to that has information that's closer than Hodgwyn. Though this person's offering friendly free passage to Hodgwyn.
Friendly, yes. No, I don't have a driving enough reason to accept that because this is weird. So
you turn him down.
Let's say interested, but I think I'll have to find my own way after my own stops.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, maybe we'll bump into each other one more time.
It's been a pleasure. Let's keep backing away.
Yep. And he like, it's like as you take like 6 or 7 steps, he takes like 1, maybe 2 more steps towards you as you do that. Like very much like almost like a dog prowl, like this is, you know, my space, you know. And then once you get far enough away, you can turn and properly, you know, walk away. You can see he doesn't follow after you, does nothing like that. He stays silhouetted in the darkness enough that once you get enough steps, you can't even see his silhouette anymore. He's just lost into the darkness, and you're like, okay, and make your way back to the inn. And
yeah, it's I'm so happy to have met Andrew Tate in Romania. So I will go back to the inn, and yeah, Mikhail is a bit shook. He comes in, he's kind of pale, and like just sort of stands near the door for a minute, like he's listening, and just waits. And then like he slowly, like it takes a while. He's there for like an uncomfortably long time. So if there's even if there's customers or any of the staff or anything nearby, it's noticeable that he's just kind of standing there waiting. And then finally he relaxes enough that he regains his posture and just goes to try to go to his quarters. And he'll probably sit awake for a while.
There'll be a moment where she'll even come over to admonish you for your friend from earlier, but you're so non-responsive to it because of what you're suggesting that she just ends up dropping it and leaving it alone, and kind of it blows over pretty quickly from there. And so and then as you said, you eventually go to your quarters to rest. The next day, you can interact with the gentleman from your last name, Gemsmith. Would you tell him what you saw?
Oh yeah.
What would you tell him?
Let's say I found your friend. I mean, you're the man with the cat of nine tails, the captain.
Oh, wonderful! I should set an arrangement. I should speak with him then.
Are you sure? It's I didn't get the most comforting impression of him. It seems like he's headed to Hog Gwen.
Oh, that's upsetting. That means that he would have overshot the ship then. Unfortunate.
I think that'd be intentional. He was offering me a ride on his ship that I didn't ask for. I don't know why that would be. I refused, obviously. I don't know. I just maybe that whatever business you had with him is better left alone.
He listens. He's almost waiting for you to explain yourself further. But when a few awkward seconds go by, where there's that moment where you're you assume he gets it, but he assumes that you haven't finished yet.
Right.
do you break the silence, or does he?
He'll have to.
Okay, sure.
It's clear Mikhail is kind of just what the fuck? You know?
And so whereas he's again expecting you to explain further, and you're expecting that he should already understand it by now. He goes, I'm confused. We get goods from Ravenhold. There's some decent items that are brought in from Tesiandale, or will be brought in from Valdaria that will pass through Ravenhold. And the ships from there are the best way to do so. So we make trade for it. And he looks confused why, again,
yeah,
almost and you're getting that vibe like he doesn't think that the guy is creepy or weird. You're realizing,
I give him a look of that's just what are you? And then it kind of dawns where it's yeah, this guy cannot read people. Obviously, he can't read the room. And he says, okay, so you know how there's a long pause. He says, I think he may be moving more than just the goods you ask for. I mean, don't you think the behavior's odd for him to suddenly disappear and then start bypassing the place you agreed that he would go to?
All of a sudden, he gets it and he starts nodding. He goes, oh, yes, of course. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm very proud of where I'm from. Leshev is a prosperous town for where it's located, and we have great trading deals with various towns that exist inside of Vala and so on. Unfortunately, however, we are not so populous or so prosperous that we could be the only trade that ships out of Ravenhold make. So of course he's making trade for goods beyond what we can afford. That just makes sense for the basic commerce purposes.
I think he's trading people. I think it's fine. Listen, this is your business. I'm overstepping.
Yep.
But I did find him. Go ahead.
It's funny you say that, and it's like moments, and he's like, "You mean like he's switching his crew? He's trading them out for others by trade?" And he's like, he like says it like the way he says it so offhandedly, so preposterous that you obviously isn't what you're meaning. He's like, because clearly you don't mean slave trade. This isn't your Vance.
I didn't say it was legal. I just got a very... He seems very creepy.
Didn't find him to be particularly off-putting. He's direct. He's to the point. He keeps things clean, concise. Most people spend too much time dressing up their words.
Yes.
And so when you just say yes, he goes like you agree with them. So it's an agreement. You guys agree. Wonderful. Hey, Messi. Messi was taken. Should we speak to Captain Tor?
I think we should. We should have the NBC about to get raided too. It's only a matter of time.
So anyways, so he says to you, he just goes simply, he just nods and goes, very well then, you found him. He's no longer around. He's going to Hodgwen. He has bypassed Leshev, and so therefore my business here is completed. I am willing to, travel north now.
I saw him just last night. I don't know if he's left yet. I doubt it.
Oh, then I suppose I will go and speak with him. Wonderful.
Just, during the daylight, maybe in a public place would be good.
You say that, and he's like, it is daytime. Why would I wait so many hours?
Correct. Yeah, that's... You're right. That would be illogical. You're going by yourself?
Are you offering to join me?
No.
He goes,
fucking way.
Then yes.
Very well. Did you happen to write that letter?
He nods and says, indeed I did. It's back at my room. Just inform the innkeep that I have left a letter in my room for you to acquire. I'm sure there shouldn't be an issue with you getting it from there. But, as you said, daylight is burning. I don't want to have to either miss him or encounter him in the evening, since that's time for drink in bed. It's a pleasure seeing you again.
Of course, and I guess I now have a reason to go to Leshev, so if you'd like to travel together, you know where I stay.
Nods and says, indeed. We'll meet in the morning at the North Gate, and we can head there from here. He said North Gate. There are no gates here, but you know what he meant.
I think I know what he means, yeah. Cool.
You go to the innkeep, because obviously we're shoring up here. It's been we've overrun or whatever. You go to the innkeep, and with a little bit of a haggling back and forth with them, the cost of a copper, they're willing to give you the letter. You think it's a ridiculous and absolutely ludicrous idea, and so you're like, no, fuck off. And you leave them, just waiting for your friend to join you. When you don't see him when you play your music that evening,
boy.
and when you go down to the docks to inquire about the, whether or not that ship is still around or the person with the tattoos around, people mark that they have seen him, but haven't seen him, and the ship likely has left. You go back in the morning to check in on the inn, check with them, and they say, no, he hasn't, we haven't seen him yet this morning. He hasn't come back down from whenever he would have returned upstairs. And you start to realize that unless you were very much off the mark at the two of their relationship, that you are likely very correct in what just happened. And he, according to the rumors, as Nori pointed out, disappeared in the night.
Yeah.
And so that copper piece for that introduction is not sounding so steep of a purchase at this point.
Put down the copper piece.
And they are able to they're able to go into the room, rustle around, find the letter of introduction, which honestly is properly sealed, like with wax and marking. I think it's a properly sealed thing. You can actually see that apparently this gentleman, he has a seal, like, and it's not just any seal. Like the seal it looks like the image of a gem. Like literally like an actual like gem, but has like a bit of like a metal filigree or whatever it is, or like a design around the gem that's there. Like he has a proper gemsmith seal. I'm like, oh, okay.
Jeez.
Not just diction. This guy actually must have had money. Ooh.
And they were willing to disappear that guy, which is fucking terrifying. Okay.
So anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, Mikhail kind of feels bad. There's only so much you could do, but at the same time, it's like, shit, now I feel like I should have gone with him or made sure he understood that the guy was creepy. But he was so, like, non-convinced that it was like, well, maybe I am being, it was like, maybe I am, like, being a little bit judgmental.
Would you report it to the captain of the guard here in Forven before you head north?
I don't trust the cops.
He's over here. That's actually Mikhail's number one hit. Fuck the police. Fuck the police. Straight out of
he
Derwin.
Probably would. He probably would. Not because he expects them to do anything, but he kind of wants to see if he can get a read off them when he reports it.
So I'm sorry. Say that again.
He would actually report it, but he's doing it kind of to see if he can get a read off of, like, do they actually seem to care, or...
Yeah, when you speak to the captain of the guard, they seem genuinely concerned. You're welcome to roll a sense motive if you'd like. They seem like, wait, you're telling me that Gemsmith's boy has gone missing down here? You're certain of this?
Yeah.
And you're certain it was Gemsmith's boy?
And I'll tell him of, where I was supposed to meet him, and oh my god, I rolled shit. I kind of just give him, like, a quick... Yeah, I spoke with him a few nights. I'm not going to show him the letter because I don't want him to take it.
Yeah, of course. Yep, I can understand that. And he's like, well, if you say so, yeah. Well,
I do tell him that he had a proper seal. I just don't tell him how I saw it. Right?
Yep, that's fine. And he says, well, rest assured, I will see to it that that this is investigated fully. The idea that and the individual that you encountered. So do you say that you actually encountered that guy before? Captain?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He goes, and where did you encounter him? You assume you give the full report?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will see to it then, because then potentially those details. Sorry, give me 1 second. He goes. Where is it? Why is my notes not there for that person? Oh, I think it's others. Hang on a second. Here we go. No, not that person. This one? Where the fuck do my notes go for this person?
It's probably the same place mine go.
Oh, I actually had all my notes written. Oh, no, it's this one. Why am I done? Oh, okay. He goes, really? That's where you saw it? Well, I'll speak to Julius. If anybody knows, if anybody would know, it'd be Julius. He's the one that owns those warehouses down that way. And if he has interactions with this Captain Tor, then we will. I will see what I can do to find this. This is certainly not business that Forven wants to be known for. We have fine enough relations with Leshev. Don't need those turning sour. Yeah.
Correct. And Captain, for what it's worth, if anyone asks, this was reported by a 7-foot-tall hobgoblin man.
You have me at a loss now.
In other words, you didn't hear that from me.
He nods and says, I completely understand. And what was your name again?
I just give him a blank look, like waiting to see if he's joking.
You don't think he was joking?
Calvin.
All right. And what were you
Calvin
doing?
Hobbs.
And since you're the one that's reporting this, what were you doing in Forven, Calvin?
Well, I was on my way there to meet a friend. Business venture. I got robbed, so it's been slow going. Probably outside your jurisdiction,
He has one or two like minor questions, and you give like relatively, again, loose and flippant answers. And then he seems to be satisfied with that. Not like annoyed, but genuinely satisfied with it. And he goes, well, rest assured, we'll look into the situation for you, Calvin.
Thank you. Calvin Hobbs, by the way.
Yes, Calvin Hobbs. Like the comics, yes?
I'm not familiar. I leave.
Yeah. What? All right, and so with that, we'll have your character heading up the North Gate and traveling, not alone. You're not an idiot. Not alone.
Okay.
But with a couple of... I'm sorry?
No, I was about to say, I don't think I'd go alone. So.
Yeah, with a couple of other people, you'll travel northward. It's one of those things where you can join on with others. So as we're ending the stream here, I'm just going to tell you how many miles north it is. And this will be on a proper road heading north to Leshev. It is 86 miles, which is on a road. You move at full speed, and full speed if you're properly walking is, I think it's 24 miles a day. So it'd take you about 4 days to get there. You'll roll in on the 4th day, heading north from here, which is great news. So, that's where we are. That was our session. Keegan, how was that for you, sir?
A little stressful. But no, I had fun. I feel bad for my new, probably autistic friend. Hopefully he's not dead. So, no, it was good. I have a much better feel for the character. Been here 20 minutes, already got robbed. Already got, propositioned, I think. Maybe that was just chat. And then almost got human trafficked. So, it's been a good day and a deer.
Wonderful day and a deer. Okay. So, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the session. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun prepping it up with you. A lot of fun making this character, finally having it done. I'm very excited about where things have gone. Art for the characters, the way that everything was designed is so much fun for me. I'm really excited that next week we get to introduce, Jake's character and how he's being rolled into the story. And then, of course, at the beginning of next week, so probably next Monday, I will announce who's playing the following Wednesday. Small announcement for everybody, though these things will be posted on Discord as I have details arrive. As y'all know, my wife is uber pregnant, and my wife is giving birth soon. Her technical due date is the 18th, but the doctors anticipate taking the baby out on the 13th, which if they do, I might not be able to stream on the 14th. We'll find out, depending on how things go. However, while the baby's coming out at about 6 a.m., 7 a.m. on the 13th, if the baby's not here yet, it's a scheduled C-section. However, she's very, very far along. The baby's locked and loaded and ready to launch and all that fun stuff. It is very possible she goes into labor before that, especially since she's a big dummy, and I keep telling her not to lift things or move things or strain herself, and she doesn't listen to me, and she just is a very active person. So it's very possible she goes into labor early in the next couple of weeks, and so the baby comes soon, and that could throw off schedules. So please bear with me if there's maybe a session that's missed, but I only anticipate missing one session unless the baby is born on a Wednesday and the day we first arrive home is a Wednesday or some shit. I only anticipate missing one at most for the birth of the baby. But again, please bear with me with that. Otherwise, thank you all for coming by and hanging out. Lots of awesome, lots of fun, much appreciated. And I have to immediately start digesting this and putting it up on YouTube. I only have one campaign after tomorrow or maybe next Thursday. I only have one campaign going on now, so there's no excuse for me to not get these on YouTube. I must do so. So, thanks everybody.
Heard that one before. All right, I'll keeping the secret about the last PC.
Thank you.
God damn it.
You better keep that secret. You better
hurry
keep that
up.
secret.
Jeez.
Well, I told you next Monday. I'm trying to find.
I know, but that's so far away.
How do I raid somebody? Where's the raid button? Oh, here's the raid button.
You probably could.
Let's see. Who is alive right now?
Lost Initiative's live. You could raid them.
There was a douchebag. Screw those guys.
Yeah, fuck those idiots. They probably did something stupid.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go and raid some absolute nutty chaos. So good luck with these people.
I know these guys. They're way cooler.
They are. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Jeez, 141 viewers. They must be freaking... They must be doing something cool.
I mean, they're doing your mom.
That would not be cool. I'd be very not cool with that.